Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today I want to bring you an updated video to the attempt to do a screencasting on Linux. And of course I did the video, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, where we looked at Gnome is starting to work on putting the Gnome Network screen sharing system embedded in a Gnome. And I gotta say, first and foremost, if this does not work flawlessly on the majority of devices out there it's designed for, they will be way better off leaving it out than putting it in. And so, first and foremost, as I had mentioned in that particular video, the software application we're talking about has been available for downloading a long time, and all they're basically doing is putting the current version of the Gnome Network Display Manager inside of Gnome. The problem is that package itself hasn't even been updated for 2 years. Now, one person did actually comment out very appropriately, like, duh, I'm an idiot moment, one of those, right? Where they say you need to use Pipewire 3.7. I'm like, was it 3.7? We're like 3.67. It's like, yeah, 6.7 is greater than 7. Of course, I was going with Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, Series 4, you know, and I was thinking, oh, we're on Series 7 and not Series... Okay. Yeah, that was just stupid on my behalf. Sometimes you just don't get a chance to think quite as much. Now, as we're talking about this, I had mentioned in the video that I was going to go ahead and pick up a device. I'm going to turn around my computer here, and hopefully we can see it. I was going to point out this guy here. This is just an Anycast that was available there on Amazon, and I looked at the reviews on that and it was horrible. So what I decided to go with instead is another one that had much higher reviews. It ended up that neither one of them is really a good option. A lot of the negative reviews on that basically I think were people that don't understand how these devices work. So that's the first principle. So I'm going to explain how these devices work. So that maybe down the road, if we can get a good one, or maybe if I spent 80 bucks on a good one, it'd probably work. But as for right now, this piece of crap doesn't. I was able to get it to work on really old devices. I mean, I still have some of these Nexus 5Xs floating around. They have not been security updated. I don't even think EOS supports them anymore. I don't know. They're old phones. Most of mine have the wireless cards have started to die, so really they're just micro tablets I have floating around. I'm actually going to get rid of them. But I could get those screencasting just fine. But no other modern device. I could not get any of the modern lineage devices to work. I tried 2 of them. I tried the Razer Phone 2, and I tried the Samsung that we are working with right here. I've tried Debian and I've tried Arch. Nothing can find this device in any way, shape, or form except the old lineage devices. We're talking old lineage devices that haven't been supported with security updates in over 3 or 4 years at this point in time. So we'll go ahead and talk though about how to get those to work, and I'll show you that functionality is working. But first let me show you the device that I bought, and I'm going to send it back because it only works on super old devices, and it's no use to me. I can't share my Linux desktops. I can't even share my modern phone desktops with it. So I got this one here. This is the HR part from Amazon. Just indicating, once again, this stuff on Amazon, I have been sending more stuff back. Understand, I've been an Amazon customer for over 25 years. Yes, before the .com boom, I was an Amazon customer. And I have never had to send anything back to Amazon except for in the last 3 years. And now a very large chunk of what I have to order on Amazon is just garbage that needs to be sent back. And this is getting sent back because it doesn't work. Now, first and foremost, some people just don't know how these things work. And so I can see a number of the reviews were just people not understanding how this works. But then I think the rest of them are kind of like, and it might work based on your app. It might work based on your circumstances. So inside of here, what we have is we have 2 devices. And this is the first thing that messes some people up. We have this guy that attaches to the TV with a standard HDMI cable, and we got this. This is to be like, this isn't wireless. I mean, you still have to connect the cable. Yeah, this is called a power cable. You have to have a power cable to make these things work, but it also contains with the Wi-Fi dongle. These don't communicate with magic. Woo! They communicate through wireless networks. That's how Miracast works. That's how Chromecast works. That's how Fire Stick works. That's how your Apple AirPlay works. All of these have to go on some protocol. Wireless is how they are being transmitted. This is simply to power the device. So in some televisions, we'll have a USB port. You can plug this in, and this will power your device from the TV. I got news for you. Even the AirPlays need power. Why don't the Chromecast and the Fire Sticks? Well, because HDMI does transmit a small amount of power, and those are small enough devices that they have figured out how to manage the power on what the HDMI can support. Okay, I think it's like 2 volts or something. I forget exactly what HDMI transmits. So you have to plug this guy in, which is going to do 2 things for this device. The first thing that it's going to do for this device is it's going to supply power to the device. The second thing it's going to do is this is the wireless dongle. So in my particular test setup here, and yes, I did test this out with larger monitors, but those are being used with Linux systems right now, and I have a test bench set up even here in the tiny van. We have a power block here. This is just my easy focus power block. Every van lifer needs something like this. If I want to go out, work at a picnic table or whatever else and bring something, and I notice, the bummer, my laptop battery is low. This guy here, I can plug into the back AC power, and I can run my laptop for a few hours, charge it up. Then I can charge this guy off of solar, off of the engine, off of AC, whatever. The other thing that we are using is I do have a very nice mini monitor here. This is a nice mini touchscreen monitor that actually has audio input. So the monitor, this guy, I forget the exact resolution of this one. Use it for Raspberry Pis. I use it just for kind of test scenarios, run up Raspberry Pis. And of course, if you watched my video about how to share, like basically how to, how shall we say, borrow the wireless network from a shopping plaza here in van life, where I might need to do something really big, or I'm like, hey, you know what? They got really strong internet here. I'm not going to conserve some of the data on my plan. I actually can plug my my little Raspberry Pi back here, which has a Raspberry Pi OS build, and I can borrow the internet from here on their wireless card and then feed it back with the LAN port back into my main van's Ethernet network. Well, this is the monitor that I use to power that little Raspberry Pi. So we're going to go ahead and use that. So we're going to plug this device into the monitor. And of course, both the monitor and the device need USB power. So we're just going to go ahead and turn these guys on. Now, of course, like any other computerized type device, our device here is going to take a few minutes to boot up. So right now it's telling me we do have some HDMI signal. And it says now no signal. That's because our device is going through a boot up sequence as we speak. And then what we're going to see when this turns on is we're going to get a blue screen here. And then the blue screen is going to have your connection systems. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the screen around here so you can see exactly what's going on this screen. Okay, so as we first turn it on, what happens is right now this device is broadcasting an IP address, an internal IP address of 192.168.691. It is broadcasting a network which is of this SSID, CastTV-3AA9, and of this amazingly secure password, something like an idiot would have on its luggage, 123456778. So all we need to do now is connect to this device via a network connection first. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to boot up with a phone. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab one of the Lineage phones here. Actually, I think I'm going to grab my phone running EOS right here. And what we're going to do is on my EOS phone, and here's EOS. Sorry for the crudity of this guy. There we are. And I've already connected to this before, so it should connect once I turn this guy on. We'll just pull up my system settings and show you guys what we're doing. Oh, of course, we're connecting to the FBI surveillance van. I want to connect to the Cast TV. Oh, and apps have stopped working, apparently. Okay, I'm not sure which says stopped working, but... Okay, so now it says connected, no internet. That's fine. We are connected to this guy's Ethernet network. So you'll see right up here that the device is now connected. Now, if I'm okay with that, all I need to do now is I just need to pull down my settings on my phone and hit my cast button. And then this is going to give me a list of devices to cast. And now what will end up happening is once this guy, it says it's starting to connect. Now it says connecting. And now I have my device for my EOS. So now I can actually go ahead and do whatever I want to do. You know, here's the old Jellyfin server. Of course, the Jellyfin server is not up anymore. That was just an old test. And then, you know, I have a few other apps on here that could be used in some way, shape, or form. You know, here's our system clock, whatever else we might want to do. So you can see this is actually casting, and it's casting correctly. The problem is I'd have to be on this device's network to cast that, and I don't really want to do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to boot off of the casting. So we're going to go ahead and click the casting, disconnect. And now what we have to do is we have to connect our device to the internet. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, the first thing we need to do is this device here, we need to get it connected back up. Okay, so there we are. Now we are connecting. Now you can see it's connected to the device. So what we need to do is, I'm just going to set this guy right here so you can see what I'm doing. And we just need to go in to the IP address listed up there. So this is going to be all numbers 192.168.1691. And this takes you to the administrative portal for this device. Now, the first thing this device would like is it would like you to connect to the network. And so we have two available networks here. Mine, of course, is the FBI surveillance van, because of course it is. Now, the other options that we have inside of here, we have our device password. You can change that to something more secure, which you definitely should. We have resolution options, so what transmission do you want? We have iOS mode for YouTube, which is going to be what, screen mirroring or AirPlay, and then we can reset all settings. So we need to come in here, and then what we need to do is connect this device to the wireless network. This is going to allow our network to come on. So I'm not going to show you what my password is, of course, for the FBI surveillance van, but we're going to go ahead and get on, and I'm going to show you what's going to change on this screen once we do this. Okay, so now you can see that our device is now connected to the FBI surveillance van, and you'll note that the IP address has changed. So this is now taken up an IP address from the DHCP channel on my router. So 192.168.529 Y5. Well, my subnet on my router is 5, and the reason I do this is because if I need to turn on a VPN to access the network from the van, very few networks use 5, and so I know if I'm connected to a friend's Wi-Fi, I can still access my VPN over that. Whereas if I'm using one and they're using one, the VPNs get messed up. Now, once we have that connected, now all I need to do to cast this guy is, rather than connecting to the device's wireless, which no longer is an option, by the way, because once this is now connecting to a Wi-Fi, it only has a single Wi-Fi chip, and that single Wi-Fi chip is now connected to the network. But now what I need to do is just look at my phone. You'll notice on my phone here that we are still connected to the FBI surveillance van. So now that both of these devices are connected to the same wireless, now I can go ahead and click our button to connect. And now that these guys are both sharing the same wireless internet, you'll see it says connecting down here. And now we are back to screen mirroring. And you can see it's actually okay. So let me go ahead and jump on into our gallery. Earlier this year, I was playing around with a drone to see if a drone was something that I might want. So, is that just a picture? There we go, on a video. So you can see here, let me do this. So you can see here that the video quality, that's how crappy the quality of the drone. So I just bought a cheap drone just to play around to see if a drone is something that I might want. Which I kind of decided no, I sold the drone because, well, there's too many regulations about them. There's too many licenses these days, getting all sorts of things. But what you can see is that what's transmitting on the smartphone is pretty much exactly transmitting on the screen. So as far as the casting options, they actually are pretty good. The problem is that I can only get this guy working on these really old Lineage devices, nothing else. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect. This will go back to our screen. And now what we're doing is, let's go ahead and pull out another device. So this is an actual more up-to-date. There's still a couple security updates to do. But what we're going to see here is we should be connected to the FBI surveillance van. And under cast, you'll see this shows up. And now it says connecting. And this says start to connect. Now it says connecting. Both of them say connecting. And now you'll notice that the bottom one says ready to connect. And the top one will sit there like that. I've let these guys sit as long as they want. Oh, you'll see that now the cast has disappeared. It can no longer find it. This device never connected. And this is the exact result that I get on both of the Lineage devices. So now this is back. I can click it again. And now it says ready to connect. This one says connecting. This one says starting to connect. This one still says connecting. This says connecting. This says connecting. And then if history is any indicator, this guy's going to stop. And then this guy's going to disappear. So there's something that is happening in the handoff on this version of Lineage that will break the system. And I can't tell exactly what it is. But it seems to be connected to, I don't know if it's something in the software or something everywhere else. So this brings us back to our main computers over here. And you can get that coffee cup there at shop.switchedtolinux.com if you too would like your own alien coffee cup. All right, so we'll close this guy out. We'll close this guy out. So this is the Debian build that we installed the Gnome's Network Manager, or the Gnome Network Displays. So this is the device that is supposed to cast our Miracast. We start with asking which device we're using. There's a virtual monitor or the basic monitor we have here. If I hit share, nothing ever shows up in this box, despite we are on the same exact network. So everything here is on the right network. I have went ahead and tested everything. Now I could not test putting this Gnome, this Debian system on the wireless, as this computer does not have a wireless card. And I attempted to plug in a wireless chip, but it did not actually have all the drivers to make that work. So what I decided to do is let's go on over to Arch. So now we have a Debian issue that doesn't work. Now we installed the flat pack of the Gnome Network Displays over here, and this is all we ever get on both computers. So neither one of the computers, despite they are on the correct network, are ever actually finding this device. I don't know, is it something related to permissions? Let's go ahead and have a look at Flat Seal. Let's see if maybe we have a permission screwed up, although the Debian one is not using the flat pack. So let's go ahead and look at our Gnome Display Manager. Permissions, X windowing system, Wayland windowing system, fallback to X, pulse audio. I mean, let's just go ahead and just for the sake of argument, let's just go completely insecure and do this. Is this going to require, yep, change by user, yep. I am literally going to allow absolutely every permission for this particular app inside of Flat Seal. This is just file system stuff, okay. It's persist environment. Can run in the background, notifications, microphone. So I can't actually turn any of those guys on there. All right. So we'll go ahead and turn this guy off. We'll go ahead and restart that. And once again, we get nothing. Now this device, this computer, I was able to put on the wireless network as well. We got it all connected to the wireless network. This is the exact same result. So there we have it. We have a very abysmal state of connecting to screen sharing via Miracast on these particular devices. Now, if we pull up this guy here, there's other ways that you can connect to these devices with like YouTube and AirPlay and stuff like that. If you're using like an official Google phone or an official Apple phone, those might work. I mean, my old Lineage phones are working. It's just none of my modern phones are working. I tried modern computers. They're not working. Obviously, I don't have a means here to test a Windows or an Apple and sharing any of those, but overarching, this device doesn't really work. The Miracast standard doesn't seem to be up to par. The application used that is in theory supposed to connect to any of these Miracast devices does not appear to work. The flat pack has not been updated for over 2 years, and this is what Gnome is trying to cram into its main system settings. So probably not going to be the best overall result at the end for the end users, but that's kind of our thoughts. Let me know what you think about all this kind of stuff. Have you tried doing any casting with Linux? Has it worked? Has it not? The other short thing I'll mention here real quick, I believe I touched on the other video as well, and that was that there was supposed to be a standard that allowed the desktop itself to become a Miracast receiver, which would basically replace this dongle. That was called Miracast. That has not been updated in a number of years. I think the last version of Ubuntu they supported was maybe 18. I can't remember exactly on that one. But overall, I think what we're seeing here is we need to see a return to this type of wireless testing. We need to see a little bit more development in this field, because right now, all I'm finding is everything is pushing you onto the big corporate systems, the Apple AirPlay, the Google systems, which you can buy the cheap one of these guys that does the Google Cast type stuff, but you have to tie that to your Google account. AirPlay, of course, is owned by Apple, and we just can't trust these companies to not be snooping on the data that you're transmitting on your own network inside your house, because the device for itself to work has to be connected to the internet and on your device. So if I wanted to use something like this in a local area network without internet and it actually worked, I could actually pull that off. But if I wanted to go out like a cabin in the woods, for example, and cast stuff with like a Chromecast, I couldn't do it, because despite it works on local network, it still requires you to be logged into your Google account. Now, if I'm wrong about that, let me know. This is not a field that I do a lot of work with. I can see that if this becomes a standard in the industry, it would be very much more convenient for places that have some form of wireless screen sharing to pass these on. And then if the only options we have are connecting with our Google accounts and Apple accounts, we will be locked as Linux users out of using our computers to give seminars and things like that. And then we'll just end up kind of being like the Linux Foundation guy who's actually giving presentations on a Mac, running Mac OS. It's like being executive of Pepsi and drinking Coke. Okay, but this is a field that we definitely need more work in, and I'm sad to see that this doesn't work. And unfortunately, since this device here does not work on any modern updated equipment that I have, I'm going to have no choice but to send it back, declaring that it doesn't work right. And I've demonstrated here that in theory it works, but if the only thing I can do is share a phone screen from a phone that's been out of date for 5 years, it's not exactly a device that Amazon should be selling. That's kind of my thought of it. But let me know your experience, if you've either had that device or if you have actually had success with a Miracast protocol in Linux. I would be very interested in seeing what equipment you're using, because I completely recognize that a $20 made in China device is probably not the best thing to test with, but hey, funds are low, budgets are limited, and this guy here at least proclaimed on all of its advertising to work with the Miracast protocol, and apparently it doesn't. So there's my final thoughts on the matter. Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.